The sky was neither blue nor gray, but a color that seemed to shift with every blink of an eye, a hue humanity had no name for. Beneath it stretched an endless plain of shimmering light, where all of humanity stood, shoulder to shoulder, as far as the eye could see. Time no longer mattered, for eternity had begun. And then, God appeared, not in fire or thunder, nor in the terrible majesty depicted in countless holy texts. God's presence was quiet, yet overwhelming, a calmness that stilled every restless heart and silenced every questioning mind. There was no grand throne, only a single point of radiant light that seemed to pulse with infinite understanding and love. One by one, souls were called forward. Each approached the presence with both trepidation and hope, their essence laid bare before the one who knew them completely. An elderly woman stepped forward, trembling. She had lived her life in near obscurity, unnoticed by most. Her days had been spent cleaning homes and sending her meager earnings to distant relatives. Her life flashed in the space between heartbeats. There she was, stitching torn clothes for a neighbor without being asked, comforting a crying child on a lonely street, giving her last loaf of bread to a stranger who knocked at her door. You were never famous, nor wealthy, nor recognized, God said, his voice a melody of compassion. Yet your life was a song of quiet kindness. Enter into the joy of eternity. Tears streaming down her face, the woman vanished into the light. A young man strode forward with pride. He had been a celebrated scientist, a genius whose discoveries had reshaped the world. His achievements played like a reel before the divine presence, awards, accolades, the admiration of peers. But then came the shadows, the corners cut, the colleagues sabotaged, the moments when ambition had outweighed morality. He stared at these darker truths with growing horror. You have advanced humanity's knowledge, God said, but at what cost to your soul? Yet, I see within you a flicker of remorse. Will you accept mercy? The man fell to his knees, sobbing, Yes, Lord, please. And mercy was granted. A man clad in the weight of power and blood approached. The crowd recoiled, for his face was known to them. A dictator whose cruelty had claimed countless lives. His life unfolded in brutal clarity. The villages burned, the families torn apart, the lives extinguished by his hand or his orders. He did not flinch as the images played. His defiance burned as fiercely as ever. You led with fear, sowing death and despair, God said, his voice steady. And yet, even now, you hold to your pride. Do you seek mercy? The man sneered. I need no mercy. I took what was mine. God's light dimmed slightly, as if in sorrow. So it shall be. You have chosen separation from love. The tyrant vanished into shadow. A woman approached hesitantly. She had spent her life questioning God's existence, struggling to reconcile the pain of the world with the idea of a loving creator. Her life played out. Moments of quiet doubt, acts of defiance against what she saw as hollow rituals, but also moments of profound compassion, feeding the hungry, comforting the grieving, standing for justice. I never believed, she said, her voice shaking. I wanted to, but I couldn't. God's light seemed to embrace her. Faith is not measured by words or creeds. It is measured by love. And your love was great. Enter into eternity. Her face lit with astonishment as she dissolved into the light. One by one, the souls approached the divine presence. Each life was a tapestry woven with threads of triumph and failure, kindness and cruelty, hope and despair. And with each judgment, God's justice was tempered by mercy, his mercy by justice. As the last soul stepped forward, the crowd that remained understood the truth. Judgment was not a moment of condemnation, but a moment of revelation. Each had been weighed not only by their deeds, but by their hearts, their intentions, and their capacity to grow beyond their failings. When the final soul was judged, the light of God spread across the plain, dissolving the boundaries between individuals. Humanity became a single, luminous unity, stepping together into the eternity they had been destined for. And God, whose presence was both everywhere and nowhere, whispered one final word. Begin.